at 6 miles an hour, and it's partly cloudy. This will affect the trucks a little bit. Quite happy with this road really well. One cloudy day, but and big things, and yeah, we're 6 minutes out from qualifying. Yeah, we're over here.
Well, yes, thanks very much for that, Roger. And 13th round of the series, after 12 rounds, it all comes down to this. We are on tonight for the championship, and we've got a couple of guys in contention for that. And of course, we've also got a number of drivers that are in contention for those all-important top 3 spots in the series as well. Why are they all important? They're all important because if you finish in the top 3 in points at the end of this series, you qualify for the automatic invitations to the Thursday Night Thunder series, which is the premier, I guess, weeknight series that's run by ANZCAR, and quite hard to get into. A lot of these guys have been racing all season in the trucks with the hope to actually do that. So it's going to be an absolute big deal for these guys who are actually in contention for that. And speaking of that, we might just run through the points very quickly before we get on to anything else. So we've got Michael Skurlock tops the points standings at the moment. He's sitting there on 394 points, and he is only 4 points ahead of Ben Doherty. So they are very, very close in the positions. Michael Skurlock only took the lead in the points in the last round, and that is certainly a very, very tight fight. Now, 21 points off the lead at the moment, so probably an outside chance for the championship, but certainly sitting there in that 3rd place that will get him that automatic promotion through to Thunder is Aaron Wilton. Right behind him, only 1 point behind him, Raymond Yeager. So those two could switch positions at any stage. 1 point in it, whichever one of those guys finishes ahead is going to be in with an excellent chance of finishing in that 3rd position, that all-important 3rd position. Darren Brumfield, he's sitting there in 5th at the moment. Don't count him out. He's a little way off the two in front of him, 14 points. So there's going to need to be a bit of a swing in his favour. He's going to need to have a very good night tonight in order to make that work for him and get into that top 3. And then, of course, let's not forget about Braden Bullis. He's only contested 9 rounds this season. This is his 10th one tonight. But out of those 9 that he has contested, he has taken 8 victories. So he would certainly, if he was able to carry that form and do through the remainder of the season and actually do the full season, you'd imagine that he'd be quite a long way out in front at the moment. But he's not. He's got quite a lot of work to do in order to make that gap up. So it's going to be a fascinating night to see how he plays it and how Next C Sports, his team, actually play it, because they've all been working to try and help him at the moment. So just going across to you now, Daniel, I mean, what are you expecting to see from tonight in terms of the approach that the championship contenders are going to take?
Yeah, g'day everybody. Honestly, I think Skurlock and Doherty, I don't know if they're going to be aggressive or not. I mean, at some point, conservative and just trying to get Oxley last distance and maybe have a crack at it at the end. But I'm not sure. I mean, they might be aggressive and take these guys on, as quick as they can, sort of just go for it. That could be probably the right way to do it too, just be aggressive. But yeah, it's interesting because you got the points battle obviously, but then the top 3, like I said. Honestly, any one of these guys would be awesome to see them win this.
Oh, right, absolutely. So just having a look at the way they're running at the moment, we've got Ben Doherty. He's sitting there in 4th position. Now, generally, going down through the point system in ANZCAR racing, there's about a point that separates each position from the position ahead of it. So you would imagine that Skurlock will be looking to finish within 4 positions of Ben Doherty. And if he does that, he's probably got the championship. But it's not as easy as that, because if you allow yourself to be in there behind him, then things can obviously go wrong. His objective has to be to beat Ben Doherty and put it beyond all doubt. But at the moment, Ben Doherty's sitting up there in the practice times with the 4th fastest lap. To find Michael Skurlock, you've actually got to go all the way down. And he's actually towards the back of the field at the moment. He's in there behind Phil Otto, Ricky Cornwall, Kai Sloggett, a few of the guys further back. So he's really going to be hoping that qualifying's kind of turned the practice has been so far, that he's able to pull something out of the bag. And if he can take the championship tonight. But if they finish the way that they finish, the way that they sit right now on the order of practice times, then Ben Doherty will be the champion.
Yeah, he will be, and that's got to play into Skurlock's mind at the moment. I'm not too sure. We'll see what happens to qualifying if the track changes and see where they qualify. That's going to be a big one to see who qualifies ahead of everybody.
Well, it's an absolute whole different mindset, isn't it, Danny? I mean, you know, you've won 2 K&N championships on the bounce now. I was fortunate enough to win it the season prior. So, I mean, it is really a different mindset for when you're driving for a championship versus driving for just a race result or a win or something like that. It's a whole extra dimension of pressure and strategy and things that you've got to think about. I mean, when you went into the last round of the K&N series, you had quite a healthy lead over Josh Carroll-Walden, but it wasn't sewn up by any means. So how did you actually approach that? And I guess if you were in a position to advise one of the championship contenders at the moment, what would you say to them?
The last 2 K&Ns, I've just tried to basically get in, I call it like cushion in the comfort zone of just being around those points of sort of where I need. And like if they're up in the lead and I know I've got 10 points, I know I've got to be 10th or whatever, and just sort of hover around that area, like 6th, 7th, and maybe not do like too much aggressive driving and let the other cars sort of, or not go, but don't really fight them if I don't need to. But yeah, you're right, it's a completely different pressure.
Yeah, just let's not forget there are a number of other drivers in the race tonight as well, not least of which is Jason Martin. He's sitting top of the tree at the moment as far as practice times go, and we're just about to run out into qualifying. We've got Mike Brown sitting just behind him with Braden Bullis, who's been so dominant so far this season, sat back there in 3rd place. A couple of new faces down there throughout the grid as well, but mostly guys who've been running the series the entire way along. And it's got to be interesting for these guys like, for example, Jason Martin, who's been coming into the series and hasn't done all the rounds. Of course, he's not allowed to, being a Thunder driver. But these guys, Dave Douglas is another one who's up there as well. Riley Curtis is in there also. So these guys who aren't necessarily involved in, they haven't really got any skin in the game as far as the championship fight goes, but they can certainly have a say in the outcome of how it plays out. So these guys are going to be aware of that, and hopefully they do treat the championship contenders with some respect, because nobody wants to come in for a single race and take out somebody who's fighting for the championship. So let's hope that everybody plays it sensible around them tonight.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. I mean, Dave and Riley at the moment got pretty good times up there, top 6 times, and Dave's coming up some confidence after that Daytona win in the Thunder Series, so he'll be going for it.
Absolutely, he certainly will. So just waiting now for the guys to go off into qualifying. The checkered flag has flown for the practice session and just about to move into qualifying. So we'll just actually try to pick up one of the championship contenders, see if anybody's going to head out early. Just having a look through, seeing if there's any of these guys about to head out of the pit lane. Can't see any of those guys heading out just yet, so I can see Will Barrington's just about to head out to start his lap, so we might just have a quick look at him, or we might just keep a wary eye on if the championship contenders do come out of the pits, or we might just quickly cut to them to see how they're getting along. But I can see Tristan's Koch, actually, he's coming out of the pits. He's coming out quite slowly. Not sure why he's quite coming out that slowly, but we might just have a bit of a look at him, see how he's getting along. Right, he's just cruising out of the pit lane at the moment. I'm sure he'll begin to wind up the pace on that truck. Yes, he does that now. Yeah, it looks like he may well be doing exactly that, Daniel. So just coming out on the back straight now, he's going to try and wind up as much as he can, wind up as much power as he can out of that engine and cross the line at the fastest possible speed. And we'll see what kind of times he's able to put in. He's put in a couple of decent performances, if not earth-shattering performances so far in his time in this series. So let's see if he can get in a decent sort of lap as he starts his first flying lap now. And just coming down there into turn 1, running through and around into turn 2. He's holding it, sort of just lower of mid-track there, which seems to be a fairly popular place to run. I'm not sure if he may want to get a little bit lower there for an outright qualifying time, but we'll see what he's able to produce as he comes up into turn 3. And just rolling around sort of mid-track there. The truck does look like it's pushing up just that little bit. He's really going to exit quite high out of turn 4, and we'll see what he does as he crosses the line. A few guys have set times, and he's slotted in there into 7th place with that, and I shouldn't think he's likely to improve on that second lap. We do have Michael Skurlock out on track at the moment now. He is on his first flying lap and coming down the back straight, so this is going to be absolutely vital for the championship where he starts this race tonight. So he is just coming through 3 and 4 at the moment. Just coming off a 4, he's keeping it a lot tighter than Tristan did, and he's going to cross the line in He got a 33.446, only puts him a provisional P6 at the moment, so probably not the lap he would have wanted. Let's see if he's able to do something. I don't think he's going to be able to improve on this second lap, but we'll see what he does anyway. We'll stick with him, and he's just coming down the back straight one more time, pushing it into 3. His tyres will probably be screaming by this point, certainly starting to get very, very hot indeed, and he's coming very high. He hasn't been able to hold that down, and he's coming very high out of turn 4, and I probably wouldn't expect this to be much quicker, and no, he certainly hasn't improved. So just having a look at some of the other guys now, we've had 16 trucks actually set times, 17 trucks set times, and Skurlock is up there in 6, so he probably would have wanted to be a bit better, but it certainly could have been a lot worse for Michael Skurlock.
And I'm just having a look at Jason Martin now. He's just coming off of turn 4 to set his quick lap, and we'll see what he gets here. Up into first place with a 33.1.
Oh, there's a surprise. I don't think any of us expected that.
Yeah, Riley set a pretty good time too.
Yeah, Riley Curtis is up there in position 3. Mike Brown sitting in 2nd at the moment. Matt Danson there in 4th, ahead of Lee Granty, Phil Otto, and Michael Skurlock, as we mentioned before, has been bumped down to 7th from that excellent lap from Jason Martin. Just keeping your eye down there on Ben Doherty's pit at the moment. He doesn't look as though he's taking to the track just yet, so he appears to be biding his time. Just taking a look at some of the other guys who are yet to set laps. We've got Bradley Cheney out there at the moment. He's just coming around here to start his first flying lap, and he's coming out quite quickly out of turn 4. He came nice high line out of there, crosses the line to start his hot lap, and he's just going to try and keep it nice and tight through turn 1 and 2. Thin cornering as if it's on rails, looks pretty good actually, as he gets on the power nice and early, puts it onto the back straight, keeps the throttle hard pinned the entire length of that back straight, and now as he comes through 3 and 4, this is going to be absolutely crucial for the lap time, and he's managed to hug it way down, just drifting up. This looks like it may be a pretty good lap. The line's been pretty tight. Let's see what he gets to manage as he comes across the line, and he comes up into the 9th place right behind Skurlock, and splitting Skurlock and Sorensen, and ahead of Aaron Wilton. So that's a pretty good lap for him. I think he'll be pretty pleased with it.
Yeah, he should be. It looks like every car that I've seen sort of so far, to get the fast times have all been coming off a little bit higher on turn 4 to get that run down the front stretch. Like that's where they're picking up speed.
Yeah, speaking of picking up speed, we've got Braden Bullis. He's just completing his flying lap at the moment, just coming out of turn 4 as we speak, and we'll see what he's able to do crossing the line. He's been very fast everywhere he's driven so far this season, and he has crossed the line in no time registered, so he must have actually clipped the wall or done something on that flying lap, because he hasn't actually registered a time at all, and he's definitely on his second lap. So let's see what he's able to pull out on the second one. What we've seen from all the other drivers, the second one has not been anywhere near as fast as the first one. So just having a look now at Braden Bullis, he's holding a fairly nice line through there, just drifting up on the exit of turn 4, running right up next to that wall, and we'll see what he's able to come out with on this second lap. Where does that put him? P2. So, only so close off of Martin. 2nd place he actually got there. So, one can only imagine what he would have done had he been able to get that first qualifying lap in. But Ben Doherty, our other championship contender, main championship contender, he's out on track at the moment. He's just coming out of turn 4. This is a big, big lap for him. Perhaps the most important qualifying lap of the entire season. Where's he going to go? Crosses the line, and he goes up to 5th place. So he's sitting there in 5th. Michael Skurlock has been bumped down to 10th. So quite a bit of distance between the two championship contenders. Not as much as there could have been looking at practice, but I think Ben Doherty will be happy to put himself up ahead of Michael Skurlock with a few cars in between them, that's for sure. Just having a look, there's only 3 drivers yet to set a lap. That is Kai Sloggett, Stacey Walker and Darren McKenzie. I'm not sure that they're going to be setting laps. I'm not sure what their intentions are, if they may be looking to start from the back, but pretty interesting grid taking shape in front of us, I think, Daniel.
Yeah, definitely is. Skurlock 10th. I don't know if I'd want to be starting back there. Could be interesting. Got a couple of good drivers around him though, so that shouldn't be too bad. But yeah, Jason and Martin, sorry, Jason and Bull, I said that's going to be a pretty good show. And yeah, there's just tons of sort of activity going on here.
Yeah, Mike Brown's been very fast. He was fast. We haven't seen too much of him this season, but he's been fast all the way through practice as well. So just wondering if he's got anything for the top two in terms of pace to take the actual victory in the race. But I guess most of our attention is going to be focused a little bit further down the field on this battle between Doherty and Scurlock. So, I mean, if they finished in the positions they are right now, Doherty would win the championship by a point. So it is as close as that between these two, and it's going to be a very, very tense evening for all of them. Certainly after qualifying, you'd have to say that Ben Doherty would be the happier of the two, despite the fact that he goes into this race trailing. And I think Scurlock starting back down there in 10th, it's always a little bit sort of nerve-wracking starting back down there in sort of the top 10 sort of midfield area. So he'll be looking to keep things nice and clean as he works his way through the pack, hopefully for him.
Yeah, he's just going to have to. I think 10th place, starting on the outside, is probably not too bad for him. But what I find interesting about the qualifying board, so I'm not sure if the practice and qualifying times line up on the screen, but the top 16 drivers in that picked up time from their practice, at least a 10th in almost.
Yeah, just about everybody has picked up times from the practice, haven't they? So I'm not sure if the tracks are sort of gripped up there throughout the practice session or something like that. But certainly as we just come to the end of qualifying now, just ticking over to a minute to go, I'm not sure that we're going to see anybody else come out and set lap times. And they'll be gridding up very shortly. So we might just run through the grid, actually, and just take you through the starting order for this final race of the season. So starting on pole, as we mentioned, Jason Martin starting inside row 1 with Braden Bullis outside of him on row 2. Then we've got Mike Brown and Riley Curtis sharing row 2. And then we've got Ben Doherty and Matt Danson keeping each other company there on row 3. Going back a bit further from there, we've got Lee Granty and Phil Otto, and then back to Ryan Jones and Michael Scurlock starting back there on row 5. Then we've got Bradley Cheney and John Sorensen on row 6. Aaron Wilson and Dave Douglas on row 7. We've got Ricky Cornwall and Damon Stockton there on row 8. And behind them we've got Darren Brumfield. He's quite up there in the points at the moment, but that position won't do him any good. He'll want to be moving forward. And Kevin Bomford back there with him. So then Will Barrington, Tristan Koch, Matt Hunter, Brett Douglas, Darren McKenzie, Stacey Walker and Kai Sloggett rounding out the field of 25 drivers. So as they all start to grid up now, Daniel, what are you expecting from these first couple of laps? Do you think we'll get a caution early?
No, I don't this time. I think it'll actually be pretty good. I mean, the track's plenty wide enough. I think these guys will give each other respect. I know there's a championship on the line and those drivers are sort of spread throughout the field. So I think we'll be pretty much green for the first, I'm thinking 30, 40 laps even.
Yeah, well, hopefully, it's quite a wide, expansive circuit here. So it's one of those where hopefully it could be conducive to some long green flag periods as well. You tend to find that throughout a lot of races, you might get a couple of cautions early before everything sort of settles down. So hopefully that's what we get tonight. I hope we get a really good clean race and a fitting end to this series. I mean, the two guys who are really in the hunt for the championship, they've been coming back week after week after week chasing this thing, and just hoping that it's a fitting race for the pair of them, and also for those guys who are challenging for that top 3 spot and the automatic Thunder invite. So it's a big night for a lot of guys here. It's a big night for a lot of people.
Yeah, it definitely is. I mean, the tension must be high. I know even my heart's beating pretty fast, sort of getting pretty excited for this one. I don't imagine what that would be sort of feeling like with the point so close.
Yeah, it'd certainly be a little bit nerve-wracking. So just waiting now for these guys to head off on their parade lap behind the pace car. It looks like just about everybody has gridded up, and I reckon they'll be underway fairly shortly, being led out of the pits by the pace car. And they will be getting themselves warmed up, getting the tyres warmed up, getting everything set exactly where they want it. They'll be even looking at where they get their, how much fuel they're going to add on the pit stop when that happens. happens and everything else. So yeah, there's a lot to do. They're not just driving around, they're getting everything set up and ready to go, getting those trucks in the right configuration that they want them for the start of this race, and hopefully they'll be looking to just stay out of trouble and just get themselves settled in before starting to pick off some positions.
Yeah, I think that's all happened. Like, yeah, I just think it's going to be a clean start. I'm not sure. They'll probably prove me wrong. I always think there's going to be early cautions, and there's not. But we'll see this time.
Yeah, it only seems to happen like that when you bank on early cautions. So I'm not sure how many people are banking on early cautions tonight, but there's certainly a couple of guys out there that have really got a vested interest in keeping their nose clean as far as the championship goes. But just starting up front, we've got Jason Martin versus Braden Bullis. And don't forget Matt Danson back there in position 6. He's going to be doing everything he can to help Braden. Of course, Braden still has an outside chance of actually making it into that top 3 in the championship and getting the automatic promotion spots, so he'll be aiming for that. So the pace car is in, and Jason is away. Jason drops the hammer and away he goes, and Braden Bullis has actually got an excellent start, stays alongside. It's a very even start the entire way down the field, actually, 2 by 2 by 2 by 2 as they run into the first corner. Jason Martin takes the lead, Braden Bullis settles in just behind him, Mike Brown in third. Then you've got Ben Doherty on the inside of Riley Curtis. It looks like Riley might actually have the legs on him on the outside there. Then you've got Lee Granty, Matt Danson, Ryan Jones in behind them, and then you've got Cheney, Otto and Skurlock trying to make his way forward as well, as we just see Granty just nuds up the track and perhaps getting to the side of Danson, but they'll continue on. And after lap 1, they're all just sort of settling around, settling down, and there's definitely some action taking place back in the pack. They're going 3 wide into turn 1. That's Bradley Cheney there on the inside of, looked like he was trying to make a move on Phil Otto there. I can't actually see if he's successfully got that done. Michael Skurlock won't be wanting any piece of this, and he's actually there on the inside of one of the Alliance trucks. I believe it might be John Sorensen. So I think the Skurlock's actually lost a couple of positions off the start, and he's just drifting up the hill a little bit and nearly gets into the side of Sorensen as well. So not the first lap that Skurlock would have wanted. Looks like he may be about to lose another position to, I think it may be the number 25 of Wilson there has actually taken him as well. So pretty tough opening couple of laps for Michael Skurlock, dropping down to 13th position. Ben Doherty just sitting there in that top 5, and Jason Martin continuing to lead.
Yeah, now it looks like Ricky Cornwell's sticking his nose under Skurlock here. He might lose another position. There's almost a wreck in front of them.
Oh yeah, Bradley Cheney just getting down there onto the apron, and he's just come back up. But Skurlock, you can tell he's driving. He's driving with a little bit of nerves. I think he's driving with a little bit of nerves. He's been absolutely swamped at the start. He's dropped down another position to 14th place. So he's definitely got the pace. He's not a slow driver, so he's going to have to just gather himself, get his thoughts back together, and start picking those trucks off and moving his way back towards the front, because he cannot stay there.
Yeah, I think it's just going to get worse if he keeps losing positions. But he's got his truck on the inside here, and we'll see if he get a couple of passes done. John Sorensen on the outside. Yeah, it looks like he's going to just lose a bit of momentum here. As the tyres start to wear, I think that top line will come in, be more efficient.
Yeah, I think that's actually Cornwall. I think that's Cornwall there on the outside, and Dave Douglas now just pulling up onto the back of Skurlock as well as they cross the line to start lap 5. It's not usual that we're actually focusing so far back in the pack but on the start of these races, but we've got a very good reason to, and Michael Skurlock fighting as hard as ever to keep this position up for that championship, and he's going to start to need to make some moves. I'm not sure if he's getting that bottom line to work for him. It seems like the guys on the top line are having a much better time of it, and he may be well advised to actually copy them. But just moving away from him at the moment and going back to the front of the field, Mike Brown has actually just run down the inside of Braden Bullis for second place. It looks like Braden will probably hold on to that around the outside of turn 2, but Mike Brown going very aggressive very early, and wouldn't it be great to see Mike Brown do a full season? He would have been right up there in the points as well, showing this kind of pace.
It's a pretty good race up there, and Riley Curtis in 4th. That's good. But then, back in 5th is Ben Doherty. So he's doing everything. This race is coming to him perfectly at the beginning anyway, and not so much Skurlock.
Yeah, Ben Doherty's just got to keep doing what he's doing, and you can guarantee he'll be keeping his eye on the positions. He'll be asking his crew and keeping an eye on the position of Michael Skurlock in this race. Michael Skurlock now runs in 16th position. He's dropped 6 positions in 7 laps, so not going ideally for him at all. But Ben Doherty looks like he's just running around there in 5th and looks quite comfortable. He's got Matt Danson up behind him. I'm not sure how aggressive Matt's going to be. He's going to be trying to help Braden as much as he can, but I don't think that Matt's going to be doing anything that may actually hurt Doherty. I think he's aware of the championship situation, and Riley Curtis has just made a bit of a mistake in front of Ben as well, and could potentially lose that position here, but he is sort of hanging around the outside line there, Riley, and he will probably gather that up.
Yeah, it looked like he just got loose coming off turn 4 and sort of headed down to the inside of the track with some momentum. So it must be the trucks must be losing some grip out there on corner exit. So it should be interesting if this gets keeps going green. That's why I was sort of hoping for, like, I think the long green flag run. This track does get interesting. There's a lot of lines to take on this wide track.
And interestingly, Michael Skurlock has actually moved up to that top line now, so he's trying his luck around the outside. He's still sitting there in 16th place, having momentarily moved ahead of Dave Douglas, but dropped back again. So he's on the outside now of Damon Stockton. It looks like he's going to get that move done, and he does. So coming out of turn 2, he's actually got Damon Stockton there and made that position. So I think he's found a line he likes now. Let's see if he's able to move forward and pick off some of these guys in front of him. But he out-qualified, don't forget. And there is a truck just up there next to the wall. That's one of the Ben Max cars, I believe. I think it's Damon Stockton. Damon Stockton or Phil Otto, sorry. No, it is Phil Otto that he's just coming underneath at the moment as well. So, yeah, he's made a couple of positions now, Skurlock. He's just trying to thread the needle between Phil Otto and Bradley Cheney there, and he really needs to get this done ASAP, and he drops well low. He's going to make it. Oh, if he gets on enough power, he's going to make it 3 wide. He does make it 3 wide. He's sitting there underneath Cheney and Otto, and he's got to get this done. It looks like he's really driven it hard there in the corner to try and get this done as best as he can. Get his bumper right up there in front of Cheney, stop him coming back at him. Cheney gets a little bit loose anyway. That's done him a bit of a favour. Cleared out the gap behind him, and Skurlock will just drop in now behind Otto, and that's 1 more place gained. He's up to 14th position.
Yeah, almost 4 wide there into turn 1. Yeah, these trucks are getting very loose coming off corner exit. There's a lot of trucks getting loose. The longer this goes, the looser they'll get. Yeah, it looks like the top side at the moment is going to hold the momentum if they can hold it up.
Yeah, certainly looks like the place to be, doesn't it? And just looking back, we can see Ben Doherty coming under threat from Matt Danson. Doherty looks like he may have been held up there behind Riley Curtis a little bit, and Danson's got that high line that seems to be preferred at the moment, but does find his road blocked a little bit by Riley Curtis. So I don't think that Doherty's going to want too much of a part in this. He understands already what's actually happened to Skurlock. He knows where Skurlock is, and I don't think he's going to be looking to fight too hard with Danson, bank panels, or do anything like that. He's also got Lee Granty coming in behind him as well, so he's not going to want to give positions away, but he's also not going to want to risk body contact. He does not need damage at this stage of the race. Running there in the top 5, Fix actually just dropped back to 6 as we speak, just behind Matt Danson, and he'll be hoping to sort of gather himself and keep that position from Granty, who's pushing hard behind, perhaps make him burn his tyres off it and gain a little bit of a gap.
And Ryan Jones is sort of heading back into this little pack as well. Yeah, just sitting on the bottom there for Ben. He looks like he's cleared the outside here, going to go sit behind Danson. But yeah, Grandy's not making it easy for him. They look like a bit of bump draft down the back stretch.
Well, I tell you, if I was Doherty, I wouldn't be wanting a piece of that. I'd be pretty unimpressed with somebody getting up there and actually bump drafting me in this kind of scenario. So hopefully nothing untoward happens there. Michael Skurlock has actually moved up another position. It looks like we've got a wrecker. It looks like Phil Otto may be wrecking. He is wrecking on the front stretch. He's down on the grass. I'm not sure if this will bring out a caution or not, but Phil Otto definitely got loose there out of turn 4 and has spun on the front stretch. He's going to have to be very careful rejoining the track. This hasn't brought a caution out. Looks like it's going to stay green. So Phil's done a good job there to get back on track, but it's a unfortunate end for his night. I think that's probably the end of his meaningful involvement in the evening.
Yeah, he just got loose coming off a turn 4 and actually he ran up into the side of Stacey Walker, but yeah, he just got loose off a turn 4 and couldn't control it and headed on into the inside wall, and it looks like that's got a fair amount of engine damage and probably done for the night.
Yeah, big shame for him. And Stacey Walker will be wanting to stay out of trouble after being one of the worst affected in that massive wreck we saw last week at Indianapolis. It was absolutely probably the biggest wreck we may have ever seen in ANZCAR, certainly at a track outside of Daytona or Talladega. So that is, you remember that Phil Otto was battling with Skurlock, so Skurlock sitting up there in 13th place now. He seems to have found his mojo a little bit better now as well. He's just starting to close in on the back of Dave Douglas, and he's going to want to get that move done ASAP and start putting some pressure on Ben Doherty, who is now sitting in 6th position, just up there ahead of Lee Granty. But you can see Matt Danson actually is starting to put some severe amount of pressure onto Riley Curtis as well. He's wanting to get up there, and you can just see Granty behind them, just going to the outside of Doherty. Looks like he's run a bit hard into the corner there, and Doherty might be able to hang on to that, but it seems to be only a matter of time. He doesn't seem to have the raw pace at the moment of just a bit of eyes everywhere at the moment, I'm afraid, just watching Matt Danson come down the inside of Riley Curtis as well. So there's little battles happening all over the track at the moment, and it's almost hard to know where to look as Riley nearly gets down into the side of Danson, and I think Danson will clear him in just a moment and continue to move on down the track in pursuit of the top 3.
Yeah, I think the thing now with Skurlock is like he's far enough up the order now where Ben really can't now afford to lose too many more positions. I think if he loses another one or possibly 2, then Skurlock's back ahead of him on the points because he's just carving through the field at the moment.
Well, yeah, you're exactly right. I mean, Granty's cleared Doherty now. I think Doherty's decided he really didn't want a battle in that, so he's dropped back to 7th position, and Skurlock is now up to 12th. So the gap is actually just narrowing between them, and we're going to see what actually manages to take place here as the gap continues to narrow.
Yeah, Doherty at the moment holding a 1-point lead in the championship, but it's Lee Granty. He's coming through the field now. Looks like he knows exactly where he's going to try and run and chase down Danson here for 5th.
Yeah, he seems to be. He seems to have a fair amount of pace on board that truck, but just some of the lines he's taking, he seems to be turning quite sharply on occasion, sort of being quite aggressive. So I'm not really sure how much pace he's going to be able to keep in those tyres as the run goes on. I mean, he's having moved up ahead of Riley Curtis now. He's actually slowed Curtis down, and Ben Doherty's now coming back into that fight as well.